Well, well, they sure made a bags of that. Yes, the votes are in, the votes are counted, and the result has been declared. As expected and as I predicted, the communist far-left candidate Catherine Connolly, best known, or at least somewhat known, for having represented banks and financial institutions in helping to repossess ordinary citizens' homes back in the day when we were all financially wrecked by our government. She's now president, or at least president-elect. That's how it goes. She got the votes. But here's the kicker. That wasn't the real story. That was not. That was a two-horse race, or I like to think of it, a two-donkey race. And they were both terrible, and I wouldn't have voted for either person. So anyway, she got in, and the far left and the lefties and this leftist coalition, they're all hailing this as a grand outpouring of love for leftist communist ideas and policies. It's not really. It's absolutely not. I'll tell you the real story here. It was the spoiled votes, you dear, darling, beautiful people, all you vote spoilers. You made my heart leap for joy. You brightened up my day. You brightened up my year. In fact, you probably brightened up my decade. But there you go. And I did a video on yesterday, which seems to be quite popular. There's a little bit of humour involved there. and some nostalgia, if you remember the days of Tony Hart, the gallery. Anyway, you can check that out yourself. It's a good video. And press the subscribe button, because here I am out on the fringes doing Trojan work. And they want to shut me down. And they probably will. But not today, hopefully. At least I'll get this out and you'll see it. Anyway, so the real story was the spoiled votes. That was the real story. This election was a sham. It was an absolute debacle on a monumental scale. And what it did was it showed many people who watch RTE and listen to News Talk and Virgin, all these state-sponsored outlets. It showed them that really this whole so-called democracy, this whole democratic system is really a facade. It's not real. It's not real at all. It's completely a farce. It's a farce. And they overplayed their hand. These donkeys... These idiots, these buffoons, these political amadons, as we might say, Oscailga, they overplayed their hand, really. Simon Harris and Micheál Martin, I don't even think it's them. I'm talking about the so-called clever people who... The clever people, mostly journalists, oddly enough. Funny how that works. Their advisors and their cabal and the people around you, their little inner golden circle, they all thought they were being very clever, you see. Thought they were being extremely clever. What we'll do is we'll just kind of cordon sanitaire off everybody that we don't approve of, which is pretty much most people. And we'll only allow our complete tiny little subset of a subset of a subset of a fraction people into the race, and that way we'll control the whole thing. And it blew up, guys. It blew up. The thing just exploded. It already was a tinderbox, because there's a lot of anger out there. Guys, there's a lot of anger out there. I should know. I talk to people, and you talk to people, and people aren't buying this nonsense anymore. There was a lot of anger there to begin with. And then they poured petrol on that bonfire. And they said, listen, on top of you being angry with us, we're not even going to allow any alternate voices to get into the race. There you go. How do you like them apples? Well, let's just say, of all the overplayed hands in the history of overplayed hands, this was the biggest, brightest, farcical overplayed hand that could ever come to this planet. And they played it and they lost. It blew up. The whole thing was a nonsense. They absolutely got wiped out. Heather Humphreys lost spectacularly. Now, bear in mind, guys, and here's the thing. The turnout was tiny. Just over 40% turnout. That most people didn't even bother. And of that low 40%, over 200,000 people, 213,000, almost 214,000 people physically spoiled their vote. physically went in and did some shenanigans or nonsense. I did a bit of it, yes. There's some great creative. Oh, the creative people. The creativity of the Irish people really knows no bounds. Bit bawdy at times, but I love that. Love a bit of that sometimes. You need a bit of that. You don't get enough of these. Bit of bawdy humour. Anyway, you can watch the video yesterday if you want to see a bit of traditional old school Irish bawdy humour. Anyway, the 214,000 votes. Yes, that's how many people in this small, tiny island came out and physically spoilt their vote, physically gave the middle finger, not just to the government party, it gave it to the whole establishment. People in the left are saying, aha, you idiots, an own goal there. No, it's not. They're misunderstanding the whole plan. The whole plan was we don't like any of you. None of you, not the left and not the... Well, they're all the left, really. We don't like the government parties, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. We don't like them, and we don't like you either. You see? It's an equal opportunities dislike. Anyway, it's a dislike of the whole system because the system is, as I've said before many times, utterly broken. Our democracy is broken. It's broken, it's shattered. They've destroyed it in their bid to hold on to power, to grab onto power, to desperately cling to power. They've destroyed it all. They've wrecked it all. They've wrecked it all, and they've wrecked the country. That's it. And if you add the spoiled votes, the physically spoiled votes, the X, or as yesterday, people voting for their ball bag, or for Penis Man, aka Jim Gavin, who had dropped out of the race, so he wasn't even in it, but he was still on the paper. If you add those votes to the votes for Jim Gavin, who was not a candidate, he had dropped out, but he was, by a system of levers and pulleys, he was still on the ballot paper. If you add those two blocks together, you're over 20%. Because a vote for Jim Gavin was a spoiled vote. He wasn't in the race. So that's a spoiled vote, just in a different way. But it's a spoiled vote. So you add the physical, I vote for my ball bag or Maria Steen's handbag votes to the Jim Gavin. It's over 20%. That's a sign that the whole project, the whole Irish Republic project has really gone off the rails. It's gone off the rails. And I think it's time for a new party. There needs to be a new party somewhere in the mix, similar to what's happening in the UK, that addresses that 20-something% of people who are, and that's not even, I don't know why people stayed at home. They just did. But a large proportion of people stayed at home and physically did not come out to support either the left or the government party. So there's a huge constituency there. Who knows what they think and why they think it, but it's a massive block of people who were not even energised enough to go to the polling booth in any way, shape or form. Now you add that to the 20-something% of people who physically did go, and I was one of them, to the polling booth and gave the middle finger to what was going on. That's how broken it is, guys. That is how broken Ireland is right now in this very moment. If a new party, a new leader, a new leadership can emerge somehow, the game's over. Like the lefties are crowing about it now, but they got their candidate in, Connolly, in because basically the whole thing was so shambolic. It was so shambolic. Number one, people didn't show up in their droves. The vast majority of people didn't show up. Number two, of the people who did show up, over 20% of them gave the middle finger to the whole process. And what was left, and it wasn't much, was split between two candidates. It's a mess. Guys, it's a mess. An absolute mess. And what I'm saying is, they all need to be cleared away. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, all that. I'm sorry, guys. No, you can't be reformed. You people, you can't be reformed. You all got to go. You all got to go. That's it. No, there's no... You're too far gone to be reformed. We need a whole new batch of people with the right ideas. who are prepared to get down and dirty, get tough on crime, get really tough on immigration, illegal and legal, and decide what the hell do we actually want to be here? What do we want to be as a country, as a society? What do we want to be? That's it. Forget GDP, forget the numbers, forget the percentage, forget the banks, forget the EU, forget the UN, forget them all. What do we want to be? What kind of society do you want to live in? That's the question. That's the only question. That's the fundamental question. What kind of a society do you want to live in? There you go. That's it. That's the question. Everything else flows from that. Now, if you want to understand how we got here, how we arrived at this unprecedented, shambolic, nonsensical, farcical situation, I would highly recommend you read Dr. Owen Lenihan's new book. It's a bestseller. It's flying off. Well, it's not flying off the shelves because the bookstores wouldn't. It was too hot to handle. The bookstores wouldn't. Now, I think handle it, but they're handling it now, I believe, in small. It's getting in there. Amazon took off. Vandalising Ireland. Dr. Owen Lenihan. Look it up and order it. Classic work, brilliant work, and an absolute breakdown of how Ireland went from what it was, what we all understood it to be, to this complete circus that we have now. So check that out. A great stocking filler for Christmas. A great read. Read it and pass it on. That's what I say. Read it and pass it on. Now, where do we go from here? The votes are in. We're going to have this communist. Look, she can't do much anyway, but she's just going to be an embarrassment for another few years. But I think the whole model is broken now. The whole model. That is it. That is the end of the road. This election was the end of the road for that system. It's broken now. Everybody knows it's broken. The people have explicitly said to the establishment, we're not playing anymore. We're not playing. You've ruined it, gerrymandered it, absolutely torn it asunder. And we know you have. We can all see you have. And no amount of RTE spin or late show curated guests are going to change our minds. We can see it with our own eyes. We know what's going on. And we're not having it anymore. We're not having it. The more you try and do this, the more we're going to kick you back, mock you, ridicule you, laugh at you, make jokes about you, parody you. Why not do the decent thing and bugger off quietly?